going to take this wheel cover off before we remove the wheel. Just use a 19mm socket. Loosen up these plastic covers. All right, slide that hubcap off. And take the 19mm socket, take the lug nuts off. And pull the wheel off. After you're done this job, you want to make sure you go to a local garage to have the vehicle aligned so you don't have premature tire wear. Under the hood, take this cap off right here. Just grab it, pull it straight up. You want to take this nut off. They normally have a special socket that you can use to take the nut off, and then you can hold the shaft with a T50, but we're not going to do that. We're going to use a 24mm socket. Take this off. And at this point, you could take a 15/16 or 24mm wrench. Take this off, and if the center shaft is spinning, you can hold it with a T50. It's loose enough to grab by hand. Pull that off and pull that top plate off. I'm going to take a little rust penetrant spray. Just spray this nut down, let it soak for a little bit. All right, now I'm going to take this nut off. I'll use a 18mm socket to break it loose. And the stud's spinning, so what I'm going to have to do is use a wrench. Now I'm going to use an 18mm wrench and a T35 to hold the stud from spinning. You can also take some locking pliers and on the back side of here, try to lock the stud from spinning. Just like that. So this nut, I'm struggling to get it off. I could heat it up with a torch. What I'm actually going to do is take a whizzer or a grinder, and I'm just going to slice the nut a little bit. I just have to be careful of hitting the strut. I don't want to hit the strut. Now I'll just take the socket, and hopefully the stud doesn't spin anymore. It comes right off. There we go, got it off. I'm gonna grab under the control arm and just raise up a little bit. Grab the link and just slide it out. After that's out, then this whole assembly is gonna drop down a little bit. Just be careful, you don't want it to drop too far. You don't wanna mess up the CV shaft. If it goes too far, you can support the lower control arm with a floor jack. And just grab this brake hose. We wanna take this out of the bracket. Just slide the bushing up, or the grommet up. Just wiggle it back and forth a little bit, slide it out of the way. Take a little rust penetrant, spray it on the bolts. Now take a 18mm wrench. You're gonna hold the bolt, 18mm socket, take the nut off. Take the bottom nut off. Now we're going to bonk these bolts out. Just use a hammer, just give it a hit, just like that. And then now I'm going to support the strut and then bonk the other one out. When you take this bolt out, watch out for the brake caliper hose. If it gets in the way that you can't get the bolt out, you're going to have to remove the caliper. But we can get it out. Just grab the strut, and I'll just take a pry bar, pry this out. And then you twist the strut to the side and pull it out. All right, take the strut, just slide it up in position. Then we're going to take this cap, put the cap, and then put the nut on. I'm just gonna put this on loosely. We'll torque it later. Line up the knuckle with the base of the strut and put the bolts through. Get that one started. Get this one started. That's good. Take a hammer, tap them in. Now it is recommended that you replace these bolts when you do this job. We're just going to reuse ours. Put the nuts on. Snug these up. Now I'm going to torque this to 66 foot-pounds. Then I have to tighten these an additional 60 degrees, so you can use a torque angle meter. If you don't have a torque angle meter, do the best you can. Take the brake hose, get this lined up, and push it down. Now take the sway bar link. You might have to adjust the stud down a little bit so you can get it positioned. Just line this stud up. If you have to use a pry bar or something, press down on the link. Put the nut on. Just take an 18mm wrench, put it on the stud. Take an 18mm socket. I'm just going to snug this up first. And torque this to 46 foot-pounds. Install the wheel. I'm going to torque these lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds in a star pattern so that the wheel gets tightened down evenly. Just going to go around again, double check. All right, line up the hubcap and just take the socket and tighten these down. Just do it by hand, otherwise you're going to strip these out. Now we're going to tighten this nut up. Now if the stud starts spinning or the shaft of the strut starts spinning, just take a wrench and take a 6mm Allen socket and tighten this up. And you want to tighten that to 48 foot-pounds. That's good.